Hello friends, this is Marilyn from tarotclarity.com again, and today's video is going to be on combinations of cards. Now, generally, when we do combinations, I think we tend to do combinations of the Triumph cards or the Trump cards, right? Not necessarily in combination with the pip or the non-scenic pip cards. Today I'm just going to do the combinations of any two cards that pop up. It'll be kind of like a little exercise, and it's an exercise you could do for yourselves as well, right? You could just be a little exercise you do as a warm-up, right? The deck that I'm using today is one of my favorite decks that I use. It's one of my favorite workhorse decks, and the only reason you haven't seen me using it in a long time, probably in a couple weeks at least, is because I put it in a little sack and put it in my handbag because I love it so much. I want to use it when I'm called to do it outside of the home, and I kept forgetting to bring it back upstairs. But it is easily had, probably for under $30. The Ancient Italian Tarot, put out by Lo Scarabeo, and it's roughly based and very similar to the Soprafino Tarot that you can get a copy of by Il Meneghello, but this is obviously a lot less expensive. Okay, there is no question today. And maybe a few of the exercises will have a question, but let's just take a look at some of the combinations that may pop up in a spread. And let's see if we can come up with some combination meanings of cards. Okay, so here we have a pip card. I don't do reversals, so I'm just switching it upright so we can see it upright. So we have 6, whatever 6 means to you. To me, it means, a solid number, a perfect number. It's the number of the Lover card, so it can be a number of love. It can signify correspondence from a loved one, since the Suit of Swords to me represents air or communication. Or activity. It all depends on the nature of the question that's coming. It's protective. We have a plant with that appears to, I think that's not a dirt that I have on it. It's from it's from the printing. Some type of plant is being protective or encased in that. The next card, okay, is the Moon card. So the combination of the 6, as I described, in the Moon card, which this is a very interesting Moon card, right? He's almost on the lobster or crayfish. It almost appears like he's on a plate, like he's ready for supper, right? He's ready to be supper. But we do have the requisite appearance of the crayfish or the lobster, the dogs howling, a tower in the background, another tower here, a river that separates them, and the appearance of the moon. So things that happen at night, right? Something that happens in the evening. So maybe this could, in reference to any question, could be a signification that someone is, can expect to receive correspondence or news about something in the evening, and good news. Now, the moon can also represent underhanded or something that's going on, like some kind of deception, right? We have the lunacy of the moon too, right? But I don't get that vibe from the 6 of Swords. However, let's see what the next card might be. Okay, we have the 2 of Cups. So this is definitely a partnership card, a partnership of minds, or, people who are sympathetic with one another. They may be in love. And the combination of these 2 cards could represent, something happening in the evening, or a night out with a loved one. The cups can also be celebratory, so it could could represent, if a person is asking about how a date will go or if they'll get called out on a date and these two cards pop up, I would think that there would be some kind of celebratory thing in the evening or an occasion or an opportunity for them to do something in the evening. And the Ten of Cups, same thing, and quite fulfilled, if I might say. This opportunity or this occasion can go a long way. Let's take a look at a few other combination cards. Okay, we have a young person, the Page or Valet of Cups, impressionable young person, emotional, poetic, creative. With the Ace of Coin, the combination of these two suggests to me someone who maybe, might be going to school, maybe going to college. The suit of coin can represent the finer things of life, the finer things that money can buy, and a young person, going to college. An education would be one of those things. Or an enterprising young person, if the person has an idea for a business or something like that. It could certainly represent taking his or her idea and trying to make some profit from it. Now, the Page of Cups, or the Suit of Cups rather, and the Suit of Coin is flexible in gender assignment. Sometimes, I will understand the people in the Suit of Cups and Coins as either male or female, whereas the Suit of Batons and Swords, they are more decidedly male. Okay, now in combination with the Tower card, we have something that rocks your world or changes your world or is disrupted, right? And, we have a young person. Now, it could be a warning, like, this young person needs to be very careful, or that the person is experiencing some kind of, melancholy of the soul. The Suit of Cups is the suit of emotions, and coupled with a young person and the Tower card, it could suggest, some devastating disruption to his or her life. And another ace, similar to the Ace of Coin, right? An enterprise. The Suit of Batons is a very energetic card. It's a creative card, a suit rather. And the Ace of Batons is kind of like an opportunity. So this young person is, I would think, the combination of these two cards, if they're in proximity to one another, like next to each other, I think would suggest that, he's being offered an opportunity, especially if it was being presented in this way. Now notice he's also holding something, so he has something to offer as well as receive, right? And it could be, if the combination of cards is this way, that he's offering something, which this could be an extension of what he's offering, right? He's offering his creativeness, or his creativity rather. He's offering something that he loves in a big way. I do think it matters, well, definitely matters what order cards appear in. In this way, he might be deciding not to accept an opportunity, right? Something could be being offered to him, but he's looking the other way because he has his own thing, his own gift, right? But in this way, maybe he's offering something, and by extension, it will be received in a very large way. Another baton, this time, another page, this time the Page of Batons. Now in combination, could be a confrontation between father and son. The Emperor is an older man. He's a man of great authority, wisdom, right? With privilege comes responsibility. They both hold a baton, so they have that connection there, right? It could be a father-son relationship, could be a face-off, a challenge, you know. Here, they're going other ways. It could suggest an estrangement, right? Or ignoring one another, or not considering the other. Now, the Eight of Coin, or denier, is a comfortable number of coins to have. You know, it's kind of suggestive of, you know, having, being comfortable, having enough, right? Maybe the youth is turning his back on having enough. Maybe he wants to go his own way. In this way, it could mean something quite different, right? You know, in this way, it can represent a bit of a challenge, you know. It could be heritage, you know, that a lot of is expected of him. He stands at the foot of great expectation, and that there might be a sense of overwhelming, you know, what is expected of him. For some people, depending on the question, he could be seen as, you know, he's walking. You know, it's not quite a walking stick, but, you know, it is a tool, or, you know, even a weapon, right? And before him, some people might see this as a road, you know, and before him there is a path or a road, you know, that might bring riches. It all depends on the nature of the question and you know, and the feel you get. Okay, now here we have the Ten of Swords. Now, you know, Ten of Swords kind of has an agitated feel to it. Whatever the question is, you know, the Ten of Swords can mean quarrels, you know, aggravation. A lot of times, you know, the higher the suit of swords gets, the more agitated it kind of feels. It just has that vibe to it. I'm not saying that the Ten of Swords would always be a negative thing. It depends, you know. It could mean that a lawsuit is coming to an end, right? And legal battle is finished, right? It could mean something like that, and that would be a good thing, depending on if you were the victor or not. Okay, so we have the Hangman, which, you know, I interpret as being someone who is paying the consequence of something he's done, right? And so this card in that context kind of looks like, well, he's going to pay a pretty big price if this wasn't enough, right? You know, this to me suggests, you know, a legal battle. Maybe things won't go well for him or her. And, you know, I think that the meaning doesn't change a whole lot with the, you know, switching the position. It could mean, you know, that after some kind of complicated or challenging experience, he or she will be left hanging, sometimes in suspense. 10 is a number of completion. It's a number of it's being over and, you know, ready to begin again. So after something or a struggle has ended, there may not be a definitive answer to a question. Maybe the person isn't in a legal entanglement, and maybe there isn't a punishment for or a consequence for behavior. Maybe it's just that after the mess is over, you know, the person will be left in suspense. You know, I think the card can be interpreted in those two ways. Now, a lot of people interpret this card as either sacrifice or seeing things from a different perspective. I can see leaning towards seeing things from a different perspective if the question asks for it, or if it could prompt you to think of an appropriate response when you see it. As far as sacrifice, I don't see that. I've never interpreted this card as sacrifice. But if it works for you, go ahead. The most that I could go that way would be the individual is enlightened. He isn't dead. And the reason he isn't dead is because in the day when these images were created in Italy, they were kind of like wanted posters, like wanted dead or alive, except this guy was probably already captured. And these images, particularly of a person hanging by one foot, would have announced to the community that this guy is wanted or will be punished for the crime of treason or being a traitor, right? And they're alive because the intent was to humiliate and embarrass, the individual. That was part of the punishment. That was the whole point of them being awake, is so that you could identify who this person is in life and know that this person has been so disgraced that, this is going to be his or her punishment. I guess in those days it would have been a him. So he's awake, which means now he's aware of what his punishment is. He's aware that he's been busted, right? And so if you want to say that he's enlightened, it's because he knows what he's done and he's aware that he's being punished. But I don't see him as an enlightened person who's superior or morally, aware or alerted to something that the common man isn't. If anything, he's just aware of his transgressions and what it now means, and it may be too late to do anything about it. Now again, we have a 6, the 6 of batons. Batons is creative energy, fun energy, and the number 6 is a loving number. It's a perfect number. It's a feel-good number, and the card itself feels good. So here we have a combination of creative energy maybe being suspended. Somebody has a great idea, but they lack the funds maybe to make it move forward. In this case, I would probably see this card as something that's suspending creative energy from happening. In this combination, I think probably something similar. There's something that's causing a stagnation of moving forward with a creative idea or energy. Okay, we have 4 of cups, a stable number. It could be also a number, suggesting boredom. If, something is too stable for too long, it might be something that gets taken for granted. But it is a positive feeling, Here we have the 6 of coins. So we have 2 very positive and upbeat cards, right? So I would say, whatever the question was that the person had, if these 2 cards appeared, especially if I was only doing 2 cards, and they appeared one next to the other, I'd say, yeah, very promising, a very good idea, whatever you have. Either way. So I guess we could go through the whole deck like that, and maybe I'll do another video soon, continuing that idea of combination cards. And I hope it's been somewhat helpful to you. Probably after I finish off this video and sign off, I'll have thought of something else that I might have been able to say about any of the 2 card combinations or 3 cards or whatever I pulled. And the way you get around that, oh, look, the way, you get around that with a reading is that you don't just do readings like maybe very spontaneously or very quickly. I mean, certainly, this is a spontaneous read. But if I was really doing a reading for someone, I would examine the cards, and I might even look at them on the table, several minutes before I ever start talking. These readings that I do are very spontaneous and very quick, for the benefit of, a demonstration. But you're more likely to notice other things the longer you look at it, right? And so that is something that I haven't really discussed. There have been so many videos that I've done, and after I signed off, I said, "Oh my gosh, I would have said this," and that is a result of not really having the time to really look at the deck or really look at the spread or look at the cards before I go off, and just give my first impressions. And true, first impressions are often the most correct because it's what grabs you right away. But some things do call, some readings and some spreads really do call for focus, especially if they look kind of tough or challenging. Until next time, friends, stay well. Peace.